are trying to bring them out of their context, out of their soil, out of everything that they are familiar with, and out of everything that they would be celebrating. Whenever you go to listen to any folk form all over the world, again, I can profess that, is that you first of all drop your own ideas, your own, you know, formulations in the mind about the sophistication. Also, you will see the instruments, they are so made from natural elements completely, right? There will be bamboo flute always coming from bamboo. There will be some kind of percussion instruments which are so raw. I mean, you don't need any sophistication.
Welcome to This Week at the NCPA. Living Traditions, the festival of Arunachal Pradesh comes. It's actually Song of the Valley, a celebration of folk traditions of Arunachal Pradesh by Dr. Delong Padung and group. It's a 2-day festival. Friday 6th of March is day 1, Saturday 7th of March is day 2. Both days are centered at the Experimental Theatre NCPA, and tickets are live now at Book My Show as well as at the venue box office, which is the NCPA box office. And it's been a while, but I'm always happy to see the wonderful smiling face of Dr. Suvanlata Rao, who's head Indian music at the National Centre of Performing Arts. Hi, wonderful to see you. How are you?
Yes, I'm smiling as you announced. I must smile, right? I'm very well. Thank you, Rishi. Thank you for having us.
I'm going to start with Living Traditions. It's now in its 15th edition. Why Arunachal Pradesh as the focus? What do you want Mumbai audiences to feel over these 2 evenings?
Okay, I will just step back one thing and say, share with our audiences that what is Living Traditions. Living Traditions is our annual property 2 days in which we try to project the artistic forms of, some of the regions. I will not even say states, because within the state also there are different regions and different folk forms. And we try to project this. And in this 15th year, we wanted to go as far as possible because we have presented all our neighboring states, etc. So therefore, we chose Arunachal Pradesh because not even us, that means I'm talking about Indians, we know exactly where Arunachal is, how it is at the tip, and the name itself is fascinating, Rishi. That is Arunachal. Arun is the sun, and the land of the rising sun, and that is the because it is the farthest easternmost state, which borders around other nations also, uh, like Bhutan, Myanmar, Tibet, etc. And internally, it has like Assam, Nagaland. So it is at the very far end. And we thought that let us get them all over here and try to see instead of us all going over there. And that is why Arunachal.
Beautiful. You're very right. It is less explored as a region culturally, and obviously you want to try and correct that in a wonderful way with this festival. My question to you is, you're doing this inside a proscenium theatre. You're actually programming a living community and their traditions inside the theatre. So are we saying it's going to be part museum like, which I find it very fascinating? Talk about that.
Yes, that is the challenge we face in, unfortunately, I will say underline unfortunate, in the urban setup like this. That we are trying to bring them out of their context, out of their soil, out of everything that they are familiar with, and out of everything that they would be celebrating. Their own surroundings, they'll be celebrating. And we are bringing them out of, so we are taking this out of context to begin with, as you rightly identified. And then to top it all, again, we are going to closet them in the theater. So that is the challenge that we have. And I think that is our audiences, they understand these kind of things, that it can't be helped. And therefore, we try to build it up or make it up with lot of commentary. And as you know, that we are going to bring, to create that context, we are going to bring some of their handicrafts and artifacts also, to give us that feel as to what their land is and what they are all about.
Let's now talk about Dr. Delong Padung. Now, he's leading this festival under his baton. I believe 35 artists are going to be there with him. What was the curatorial conversation like between you and him while shaping this showcase? Everybody who's watching and listening, Dr. Padung is an Ustad Bismillah Khan Yuva Puraskar awardee. He's the chairman of the Karpung Karduk Center for Performing Arts, and obviously a humongous artist and institution builder who is very well revered in Arunachal Pradesh. So, a little bit about Dr. Padung.
So, as his name suggests, he's really an academician who must have done a PhD in this. And his name came very highly recommended by the chairman of Sangeet Natak Academy. See, because we as a National Center for Performing Arts sitting here in Mumbai, whenever we feel like doing something as romantic as getting Arunachal Pradesh over here, I try to get in touch with all these agencies like Sangeet Natak to understand, who can be the best representative, how can we get all these things done. And he came highly recommended by Sangeet Natak Academy chairman, and that's how I went to him, and he was of course very excited. And right in the beginning he told me, ma'am, it's a very honor for us to come to Mumbai. Actually it is the other way, but you know how we make people feel always sitting in the high perch in Bombay. But also he told me that we'll try to present as varied things as possible, but given the distance, and number of people involved, etc., that he can bring, it will be a kind of a indicative only, and which we understand. Therefore, to come back to your other question also earlier you posed, that you are going to create an artificial environment within the proscenium theater and how it will be. So that is something, given the condition, the constraint, that we have to go back.
So, you've broken it up into day 1 and day 2.
Yes.
Everybody who's listening, Friday 6th March, it's harvest rites because agriculture is so important in the northeast in Arunachal. Nature worship, farming cycles, gatherings, basically a culture where life, land and community are inseparable. Day 2, celebrating from the Himalayas to the rivers of the Siang, seasonal tales, traditional attire, indigenous faith. So a fair amount of showing spiritual values. And it's not just Buddhism, because there's a lot of nature worship also in that area, Dr. Rao.
Yes.
So talk to me about the various facets you're covering.
Okay, so first of all, let us go back a little behind. As I said, it's the land of the rising sun. Okay, so now you can start imagining the nature, the natural beauty and bounty that nature has presented them. We understand that there are about 26 major tribes and about 100 sub-tribes. So you can imagine the kind of, perhaps within the same ethnicity, there are so many diverse kind of groups, and all these groups have, and in fact, they profess to, they say that they are professing two sects of Buddhism itself. So you can understand that within such a small community, they have such a diversity. And one thing is very evident, that they have certain major, what shall I say, beliefs in the which they go. A is there, the Mother Earth. The earth, which we all know, Mother Earth, but we in the rural, urban setup, we don't, have this feeling about it. But somehow these tribes, they are so rooted to the Mother Earth. They know that they owe everything to the Mother Earth. So there is a Mother Earth. Of course, there is divinity, the Buddha, which I told you. They already have two sects of Buddhism. And then comes to their, day to day, how they live, that is the agriculture. Okay, the main activity is agriculture, and of course the nature around them, the bountiful nature, the river, the Himalayas, the birds, the animals, so they will have the songs, etc., of all these types. For example, in agriculture, right from the sowing to sowing the seed to when the harvest is standing there, they rejoice that. Then actually the harvest is cut, that is another song. Then they are being stored, that is another song. Then they pray for its life, The harvest has to succeed, right? I mean, survive for the next year. So for them, all this becomes ritualistic. And then there are songs for all these things. And what is wonderful about, in fact, all folk arts, wherever you go, world over, not only in India, you will see not so much of compartmentalization of folk. This is vocal music, this is instrumental music, this is dance, this is theater. No, it's all part and parcel of one whole behavior of human being, as the ethnologists say. It's a behavior of human being, all part together. So here also you see that there is a lot of dance happening, which is a part of music. And of course, with a few barring exception, women are not allowed in those dances. But otherwise, women are as much part as the dance. So to come back to your question, therefore, that these are the kind of some of the themes on which you see all their songs and dances uh, based on. And here I believe that Dr. Pardum could have explained it better. Uh, many artists, major artists, are coming from a tribe called Adi.
You briefly mentioned handicrafts, how there's going to be an on site display of indigenous artifacts and handicrafts. I find that also very intriguing because to me, they're not just objects or objects to view, but these handicrafts and artifacts actually tell you about the labor, the skill, stories of their livelihoods, which is so important for us to know and learn. I'm sure you'd agree with me.
Sure.
I'm going to come to what is your core area, your core competence, your core passion. For those of you who don't know, and if you've been following our show for weeks, you would know, but you don't. I'm going to reintroduce Dr. Rao. Apart from her responsibilities, which is her job at the NCPA, she's a researcher in computational musicology, psychoacoustics, major arts programmer. Because we're talking folk music here, folk forms, nuances, let's say first time audiences who are coming to hear Arunachali folk. What's a listening hack you personally use to help first time audiences so that they can understand structure, repetition, nuance in folk forms?
So, Rishi, there is no simple answer to this, but I would start by saying that whenever you go to listen to any folk form all over the world, again, I can profess that, is that you first of all drop your own ideas, your own, you know, uh, uh, formulations in the mind about the sophistication. See, because we call ourselves sophisticated by going to a classical music concert, this, that, and it is highly sophisticated in a way because it's lot of do's and don'ts, and you're trained in that, and you try to wear that spectacle to view or listen to the music. But whereas when you come to something natural as folk arts itself, which I said that folk forms, folk music, folk dance together, that you first of all drop that inhibitory circle that ideas that you have in mind. So when you drop that and just listen to it with very open mind, you will hear all natural sounds. Just like when you were a child, when you heard your mother's lullaby, you know how, I'm sure that all of us have forgotten now how it felt. I'm sure it felt very exhilarating, because what comes out is the raw passion of the mother and raw feeling of the human beings. Whereas when the arts go on becoming sophisticated, because we call ourselves sophisticated, you see, for that matter, the way we dress, the way we speak, the decorum that we want to observe, even to say hello, thank you, this, that, all that is very artificial for human being. Whereas in the folk, everything about folk is very natural, and therefore we need to go back to our roots and be very natural, and then you will hear the beauty of it. For example, you will notice that they are celebrating so much of rituals, right? Okay, and you don't have to ask why, but you will see their melodies, the dance form, the dance movements will be very simple, at the circular or with the beats and with the very limited actions and this and that, but they'll be very natural, and therefore many times people can, as an audience, they can so much, what shall I say, be one with these artists, because this is a very natural thing. You don't need to be groomed in anything. Also, you will see the instruments, they are so made from natural elements completely, right? There will be bamboo flute always coming from bamboo. There will be some kind of percussion instruments which are so raw. I mean, you don't need any sophistication. So if you drop your own element of sophistication that we as urban masses have acquired, which so-called you described me as a doctorate, but all this is just put on. So if we can drop all that, we will enjoy any folk form.
Thank you for explaining that so lucidly and yet simply. So there you have it. It's basically gives you a very rich insight into the performing arts of the tribes of the Eastern Himalayas, their folk tradition, their harvest, their rituals, their worship and their faith, and of course, traditional attire and handicrafts. Living Traditions is the 2-day festival. Under it, the subsect is called Song of the Valley, celebration of folk traditions of Arunachal Pradesh. Please do come 6th and 7th of March, Friday and Saturday, at the Experimental Theatre NCPA. Tickets are going fast at Book My Show as well as at the venue. Dr. Rao, as always, it's been such a learning experience listening to you. Thank you for your time and have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
94.3 Radio 1.